Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of the Lone Coat Mafia Podcast. It is I, the Reverend Godfather, the show's main host and frontman. And before we get into the meat and potatoes of this week's episode, I would like to say Happy New Year to all of you listening. I hope your new year starts off great, or has started off great, because this is the last episode that is being posted up for 2018. Now, that also being said, this is the safe for work version of the episode I intended to be posted up this December 31st. And the reason why I say that is because yesterday, me and Big Candy were in studio, kind of read the conference room at the Daily Grind here in Martinsburg, West Virginia. Special shout out to them. Recording our 2018 year in review type episode. And while we were there recording that episode, we kind of recorded the intro to this week's episode, which kind of de-evolved really quickly and became not so safe for work. That also was going from there and rolling to what is this week's episode per se? Well, this week's episode is the final panel episode that we are providing all of you from this year's Paracon. And the title of the panel is History and Haunting of Haldeman Mansion. I know that some of you like the paranormal stuff, and there's a bunch of you right now that are saying, last panel of Eastern Panhandle Paracon? Yes, this is the last panel we have, or I should say, had saved from that convention here that was this past July. Not only that, this is the last panel we have, period, to offer you this year. Or the last panel we had saved, period, from the last couple of months. I know that sound I kind of faintly hear in the background is a bunch of you falling to your knees and praising whatever deities you so worship, saying, in a way saying, thank whomever, that this is the last panel that we have to offer have to go through. But that being said, these things help the show a lot. They are very educational for all of you. I'm going not to rant and rave too much about this because the audio is great. I know a lot of you heard me rant and rave before about audio quality. Now, in regards to the not safe for work episode, am I deleting that one? No, I am not. I am saving that one for when we do start go away from the GoFundMe campaign, which is kind of failing miserably, and going towards maybe something closer to Patreon. One of the tiers or offerings I'll be offering up to all of you is kind of the stuff like the not safe for work version, and maybe low quality, the versions of shows that I've deemed low quality. That way you have something to compare to and some special treats. Now, speaking of special treats, this past week we received another free offer from George Spike Reel in regards to getting new intros in for the show. We do have that from him, and we do thank him. And in our 2018 special, kind of year in review special, we do have a little longer thank you. George, if you're listening, we do have that. But this is just a quickie little thank you and a little bit of a shout out to George Spike Reel, who is a kind of a radio show type of announcer, voiceover artist. So again, we can't thank him enough for what he has done. But that being said, again, this is the panel from Eastern Panhandle Paracon titled The History and Haunting of Haldeman Mansion. The disclaimers are pretty much as usual. This is not our content. We are presenting this content to you. The panelist that was presenting the panel, she owns all the we want to say she owns all the content. This is her panel. This is her content. We are just sharing it with all of you because there are kind of pauses and everything else in this that was kind of cut down. I think maybe about overall 2, maybe 3 minutes was cut down due to time constraints. And that being said, here's the panel. I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you guys and gals on the other side of the panel.
Anyway, I am Lora from the Haldeman Mansion Preservation Society. You should see up there. We are a non-profit historical mansion on the National Historic Registry. I am on the board of directors, so we are just a preservation society trying to raise money to restore it to 1812. The mansion actually dates back a lot earlier than that, but Samuel Haldeman is the reason why we're on the National Historic Registry, and he was born in the mansion in 1812. So that's why we're trying to go back to 1812. Now, go ahead, Sam, click. This kind of gives you a picture of the mansion from the front. There's a side view that's a lot longer, but I thought this was a cool picture, so I put it up there. It overlooks the Susquehanna River. So in front of the mansion, which is here, down the little hill is a railroad track where it runs freight trains, and then we have the river. So it's a beautiful location itself. Okay, Sam. This is kind of an aerial view. I don't have my pointer, but to kind of show you where you see the white dotted lines, that's the railroad track. The carriage house, if you guys can see that, is the pointer in there, Sam? That's where I live. And it's such a cool, it was built back in here's the carriage house. So this part here is the mansion. So, and it's beautiful because you can kind of see, this is the part that you saw in the one picture. This is the whole other addition. But this is the carriage house where I live, and this is the little summer kitchen, which actually used to be a home. And how this all started was, all this land here, we had 3 Indian tribes, and you're going to see that. A fur trader by the name of John Galbraith wanted to acquire 440 acres from the Indians. So the Kanoi Indians sold him the property, and he built a little summer kitchen where he lived with his wife and 3 daughters. And when the oldest daughter got married, he started building the first 3 rooms of the mansion. Now, when he sold the property to the first generation of Haldemans, the Haldemans started putting additions on to actually make it a mansion. So, click the slide. This kind of gives you an idea of the Indian heritage. So, we have archaeologists that we work with, and we know that the mansion is actually built on top of Shanks Ferry Indian Stockade Village. Then we had what I call them the Susquehanna Indians, but by historical value, this is what they go by. And we know that they were there in the 1500s, 1600s. Kanoi Indians is actually what came in and why we're called Kanoi Township. So, go ahead and click, Sam. So this gives you the idea of the Haldeman family. So John Haldeman, being the oldest one, he bought the property in 1786. Henry Haldeman, who we'll talk about in a little bit, was John's son, and Cyrus and Horace were Henry's sons. So this is kind of how the property stayed. Now, it's actually stayed in the Haldeman family up until about the 1890s. Go ahead and click. So this kind of gives you an idea of the owners of the property. So a lot of people think it's called the Haldeman Mansion, it's all Haldeman ghosts, and that's not true. There's a lot of other spirits there that we cannot identify, and most likely they're from one of these families here. Now, I have paranormal groups come in from all over the country, and they normally come in every Saturdays. So Saturdays are always booked out. The team that came in last night were from New York, And they were there in April, and they caught some really cool names. So they had called me to ask if I could identify any of these names. One of the names they got very clearly was the name Janny. Well, I can't identify any of those names, so most likely they came from one of these families here. Now, here, HNPS, it says 1983. Actually, we acquired the property back in the 70s. It was run down, you're going to see some pictures of that, but we didn't become a preservation society until 1983. Okay, go ahead and click it. This is the only picture that we could find of John Haldeman, and it's actually a sketch. So that's the only thing that we can dig up of what he might have looked at like. Okay? And this, of course, is Henry Haldeman. Now, look at that face. Doesn't he look like a friendly dude? We have a spirit in the mansion. I call him the grouchy man. And if you're walking around the mansion, it's very common to hear in your ear behind you. Or he'll tell you to get out. People get EVPs all the time. Get out. Or he'll use some profanity and stuff like that. I believe that to be Henry Haldeman here, this pleasant-looking gentleman. So, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. Go ahead and click, Sam. Okay, so here is Professor Samuel Haldeman. And this is the reason why we're on the National Historic Registry. Now, a lot of people don't know anything about Samuel Haldeman. They'll say, who the hell is Samuel Haldeman? And I bet you're all saying that too, aren't you? Samuel Haldeman actually worked with Noah Webster to help write the Webster's Dictionary. He was a professor of over 33 different societies. Do you all know who Stephen Hawking is? Samuel would be compared to Stephen Hawking of today. The man was brilliant. He was a linguist, he was a professor, he was a scientist, he traveled. If you go back and read any of Darwin's work, you'll see that Darwin references a lot of Samuel Haldeman's findings and writings. So Samuel Haldeman is actually the reason why we're on the National Historic Registry. And he was born in the mansion in 1812. Now, a lot of people come to the mansion thinking they're going to talk to Samuel. They're not going to talk to Samuel. Samuel actually moved away from the mansion in about 1920 to travel and to study. And when he was done, he came back and he settled about 5 miles down from the mansion, built his own mansion on what we call Chickies Creek. And Samuel actually died there. Okay, this is a wonderful picture, and you guys probably have no idea what you're looking at because you've never been there. But this is the mansion here. This is the oldest picture that we can find of the mansion. And this probably would have been in the late 1800s. Here's the mansion here, sitting high up on the hill. Okay? Carriage house sits right here next to it. And this fence goes all around the property of the mansion. Now, the Haldemans were very wealthy. They built a distillery, they built a sawmill, they built all kinds of stuff, an iron mill. And what are you doing, Sam? Okay. So that's kind of what you see down here. They built houses for the field workers and everything else. But there's a little road here that takes you up to the mansion, and that road is still there. This barn is actually still there. A lot of this is just foundation and ruins. So it's a really cool picture. If you ever visit the mansion, you kind of get a perspective of what it used to look like. Okay, so now, that's a horrible picture, isn't it? This is what it looked like when we took it over back in the 70s. It was in really bad condition, and the township just kind of wanted to tear it down. But with all the history, a group of people got together and decided they wanted to save it. So this is kind of what it looked like when we took it over. Go ahead, Sam. And just some more bad pictures. Go ahead, please, Sam. Front porch. Now, back in we believe this is probably back in the 1890s when the Hoffmans took it over. But go ahead and click it, Sam. Kind of get an idea. Now, you're going to see if you ever visit the mansion, it doesn't look like this now. Because this porch here is gone. This bay window credenza bump is gone. Because when we took it over, this is what the side of it looked like. Well, because these were put on after 1812 by the Hoffman family, we had to tear all that down because it has to look like it did back in 1812. Go ahead, Sam. And this is after we kind of cleaned it up a little bit. We took the porch off. We don't see the porch over there no more, but we still had to remove this. All right, Sam. An old view of the summer kitchen. When we took it over, you can kind of see how it's falling apart. Go ahead, Sam. And this is what used to be in the summer kitchen when the Golfers bought the property and built it. And I call it the summer kitchen. But back then it was their house. And they lived in this. When the Haldemans took it over, they turned it into a summer kitchen. Now, it's very common back then that a lot of rich people had separate houses to do all their cooking in the summer. So it wouldn't heat up their house. Okay, Sam. So this is what the mansion looks like now. Much prettier, isn't it? So this is kind of a view of the front and the side, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So if you've never been there, I do encourage you to visit. Okay, Sam. Some repairs after we did on the summer kitchen. Now, this even it looks better now than it does now because just this past spring, we had a brand new roof put on. And because we are a National Historic Registry, everything has to be done by historic code, so nothing's cheap. So we had 2 new roofs put on. We had a new roof put on here and a new roof put on the mansion. And now we're going to get into some of the spooky stuff. All right. There was a cemetery, a family cemetery, right up in walking distance from the mansion. But because it's also built along the river, the cemetery kind of set high up off on a hill by the river. Well, we had a quarry come in, and they would blast. And as they blasted, more and more of the land started just disappearing from the cemetery. So back in 1930s, a group of people decided to get together and remove all the bodies from the cemetery and just move them about a half a mile up the road into their own separate cemetery. So a lot of the headstones were unreadable. So what they did was they dug up all the bones, of course, they put them in one big plot, and they created a whole new headstone. So that's why you see this one. Here lies the identified bodies found in the original Haldeman graveyard. Now, I will tell you, nobody ever goes up there to investigate the graveyard. So it's pretty cool if you ever come up to go up there and spend some time. Go ahead, Sam. Frances is actually Henry's wife and Samuel's mother. And I'm going to tell you a little story. You had John Haldeman, who was the senior, the grandfather, who had a son named Henry Haldeman. Henry Haldeman is the grouchy man, I believe, is in the mansion. He married a woman named Frances, who you see up there. Frances and Henry had 7 boys born in the mansion, the oldest being Samuel. 7 boys. All the boys run around at the same time. So Frances decided she needed some help, so she went and got her cousin named Margaret to come up and help. Margaret only being about 13 or 14 years old at the time, she came up, she moved into the mansion, and she started helping. Sadly, one of Frances's little boys, Leander, died in the mansion at the age of 4. We think it was probably measles from letters that we found in the archives from the family. So obviously you see him buried next to her. So that left 6 boys running around in the mansion. Margaret, unfortunately, died at the age of 32 in the mansion. Can you imagine being a mother with 6 little boys running around and you die at the age of 32? And I tell you that because there's a female in the mansion that if you're lucky enough and you're walking around, a lot of people will smell her. They smell like roses or flowers. And from what I'm being told from the historians, back then the women would soak flowers in water to make their own perfume. So you'll get a whiff of Frances every now and then. Plus she loved to play piano in what we call the artifact room. So people will pick up piano music and hear piano music, and they also hear a woman crying. And I kind of put pieces together, being there so long, and all the evidence, I kind of put pieces together that I do believe it's Frances, which would make sense. because she died in the mansion at the age of 32. Her boy's still alive. She doesn't want to crawl. She kind of wants to stay back with her children. The rose perfume, the piano playing, and the crying. Of course she would cry because she's sad. So let's say Margaret dies at the age of 32, Frances dies at the age of 32, and here's Margaret. Well, what do you think Henry does? The old perv marries her, okay? The old grouchy man marries Margaret. So they have 2 more children born in the mansion, 2 more boys. And Henry, being 30 years older than her, of course he dies before her, he leaves in his will, he says in his will that Margaret can continue to inherit his money every month and live in the mansion as long as she never remarries. So of course she never remarries. This is an interesting photo. If you look high up here on this mountain, that was the original cemetery. So now you can see why a group of people got together and moved in. So this up here is the original cemetery. Go ahead and click it, Sam. This here is the new cemetery. And what we did was, see these stones back here, the stone wall? Those are the original headstones. So we encased the original headstones into the wall and created new headstones for all the family members. So it's a pretty cool site. Go ahead, Sam. Okay, we talked about it being Native American Heritage District. When we were putting in underground plumbing and sewers back in the early 1900s, we uncovered over 50 unmarked graves of field hands, servants, on one side of the mansion. The other side of the mansion was unearthed over 100 unmarked Indian burial graves. So the Indian burial graves, of course, that land is sacred Native American burial graves. A lot of the graves that were dug up were found like this. And they say it's because it was easier to dig a 3-foot grave than it was a 6-foot grave. So what they would do is they would cut you from the legs down and bury you side by side like this. Now, on the Native American graves were a lot different than this. Some of them were buried in the sitting position, and they were all facing the west, which is very common for Native American burials. We did find one grave of a female with a deer vertebrae shoved down her throat. And for the longest time, we didn't know what that meant. But recently, we discovered that there was an Indian tribe, it was called a deer tribe. Apparently, Native Americans have certain tribes. This deer tribe, so that was a sacred thing that they would do for this female. Apparently, this female Indian was some kind of blessing or did some kind of good deed for this tribe, and it was actually a compliment to be buried like that. So most likely they sat her up, because she was found sitting up, sat her up, put a deer vertebrae and wrapped her arms around it. But over years, the deer vertebrae actually just kind of sunk into her. So that was actually a tribute, and we didn't understand that. So there's Indian burials and other burials all around the property that make it very, very interesting and scary and haunting. So this is the mission and our vision of the mansion, kind of where we want to go. We still have a lot of work to do because we are a non-profit and we don't get state or federal funding. So we try to have events, paranormal events, fall festivals, apple festivals, to try to raise money to keep us going. So you can make a difference by becoming a member. So being a member, it only costs you $20 a year. We will mail you newsletters every quarter, kind of give you an update on what's going on, pictures, and then you would also get discounts if you decided to come out to one of our events. So just keep it in the back of your head. So now I'm going to show you some of the history and haunts of the mansion. Because I couldn't get internet here, I couldn't go online to show you some of the really cool stuff. So I'm just I clipped some things I just want to show you. I kind of told you about some of the haunts. We do have children in the mansion. I think Dave and Ernie were telling you a lot about that. the little girls have been very active lately as far as giggling. You will hear them with your own ears. I found out just this weekend, Harris, who helped run this event, his team actually, when they were out there, they captured on camera the apparition of a little girl on the stairs. So I'm anxious to see that picture. Okay, so I want you guys to kind of pay attention. That video that you guys saw, did everybody see that video that Dave showed you? If not, I'm going to show it to you in a minute. A group was out at the mansion in 2016 in October. North Cador's Paranormal Society. So they set up still cameras in all the rooms, and they went off to investigate. Well, Tim contacts me back early in the spring, and he said, Laura, you're not going to believe this piece of evidence I captured. He said, this was from 2 years ago, but he said, I've been slow reviewing everything. In the artifact room, it's the only room in the mansion that we actually have Haldeman Mansion furniture and some pieces. He said, I captured an apparition of a child running across the screen. So he sent me the clip, and this is kind of the clip in still pictures. So the camera, it's pitch dark in here, so the camera's just picking up the IR. Right here is kind of the first thing of the child you see. Go ahead and click it, Sam. And then you start seeing it, keep running, keep clicking, Sam. Let's get a little, keep clicking, Sam. Okay, this is the video, this will be better. Tap on that, Sam, click it again. Okay, I can't get the video to run. Normally, this was supposed to be a video. But anybody wants to see it, just come see me and I'll show it to you on my phone. But it's the video of an apparition of a little child running across the room. And it's really cool evidence because we get so much evidence of the children in the mansion. Did Dave show it? Okay. Go ahead and go to the next one then. This is interesting because, does anybody know what a Gansfield experiment is? Okay, the Gansfield experiment is when you're doing a paranormal investigation, you lay down, you put earphones on you, and you block your eyes. The earphones are playing a really soft music, and you're just listening, and you're very still, and you just kind of go into this meditative state. Well, the whole point of this is to try to get spirits to come in through and communicate with you. So while we're doing this, while he's doing this, as you can see he's laying on the floor, we capture this picture of this orb, which was very interesting because, you know, him doing that happening. Go ahead, Sam. This is another interesting photo, and I tell you what, I'm a skeptic when it comes to orbs, because 90% of orbs are dust and bugs. Very few will I say, well, I can't explain that. So I only clipped a couple of ones that I could not explain. This one being up in the attic and the way, and it's kind of hard to see on the screen, but if you saw it close up on the computer screen, you can see the different colors. The outline of the orb that's kind of holding the energy in. So this one here, I would say, I can't explain it, it's questionable. This one here, if you look down here, my pen stopped working. All right, you see that white blob kind of at the end of the bed? We had an archaeologist come out once. She wanted to do an investigation. And she was one of them professionals for Indian stone steps. She ran a tour place for a very popular haunted Indian location, maybe 40 miles away from us. So her name was Jan Kleindice. Being an archaeologist, in the history of the land, she wanted to come out and see it for herself. So when she was out there, she actually captured this picture at the end of the bed. Now this is actually our summer kitchen. In this summer kitchen, there's 2 levels. The man in the summer kitchen does not like anything on the stairs. And I tell you, I live on the property. I will go in that mansion all by myself all the time, and I do. And I encounter the Grouch Man, and I got it on EVPs, I don't know how many times. I'll go in there and I'll sit down, and I'll say, hello, how are you? Want to talk? And I get out. And no lie. So he doesn't bother me at all. The first summer, that I started this program, I went into the summer kitchen. A team was in the mansion. My son was up visiting me, and I said, from out of state, and I said to him, his name is Drew, I said, let's go in the summer kitchen. You know, the mansion, the team's in the mansion, let's go in the summer kitchen. So me, you know, I didn't tell you all, but I've been in this field for over 20 years, and when I first started, I was in my 30s. I know I don't look that old, do I? But anyway, I was a non-believer. And I bought this house, and the day it settled, the owner told me, oh, the house is haunted. And I looked at my husband and I said, this man's crazy. We moved into the house, and crazy stuff started happening, but I didn't believe in ghosts. My grandfather was a minister. I grew up in the church. I believe that when you died, you crossed. There was, you know. So all this crazy stuff starts happening, and I just brush it off. You know, non-believers, we just brush it off. I'm sitting home alone by myself one night. Kids are out, their teenagers are out. I'm sitting home in my house one night. My dog's on the side of me, my cat's on the other side, we're watching TV. And you know, it's dark, and all I see is a TV light, and I have a light on in the kitchen above the sink. And I hear these footsteps, and they're really loud. They're coming from downstairs, and they're coming up into the living room. And all three of us, we turn our head. I'm expecting to see my son. I didn't see my son. I saw a very tall, dark shadow come up to the top of the stairs, move across my living room, and then go into my kitchen. You ever hear that fear frozen to death? I'm telling you what, I sat there in fear, could not move, tears rolling down my eyes. I was scared to death. I sat there for a few minutes, nothing happened, and this is before we had cell phones. And the only phone in the house was hanging up in my kitchen. And that spirit went in my kitchen. And I'm sitting there literally scared. Nothing's happening, nothing happens, real quiet. So probably about 15 or 20 minutes go by, and I jump up on the sofa, and as I'm going in the kitchen, through my dining room, I'm turning every light on. I get into the kitchen, I pick up that phone, and I called my son. And I said, you know what? He's at his friend's house. I said, you get your ass home right now. That made me a believer, because you know, when you have an experience like that, you know you're not crazy. I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew what I witnessed. So I knew that my house was haunted at that point. There was truth to it. So me, I go online the next day and I start researching. I'm calling ministers. I'm calling anybody that can talk to me, because everything I had learned as a child growing up was completely out the door. And I had to start all over again. So here's where I made my mistake. I started dragging my 16-year-old son along to abandoned buildings and places and things I shouldn't have been going, because I didn't know anything about the paranormal, but I wanted to go out there and talk to ghosts, because I was like, you know, this is crazy. Not knowing I was bringing things home. And this is the God's honest truth. I didn't realize I was bringing things home at the time with me. My son started getting very sick. The last 2 years of his school, he couldn't even go to school. He would wake up so sore he could barely move. He ended up having to be homeschooled. But we drug him to Johns Hopkins. We drug him everywhere that you could think. He's had CAT scans, MRIs. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with him, so they diagnosed him what's called dysautonomic disease. And they said he would probably die in his 20s. It was a crippling disease. So we're dealing with this at the same time I'm going through a divorce. So we put the house up for sale and we move out. And we weren't out of that house for a few months, and my son automatically just started getting better. And to this day, he's never had another problem. And I don't want to insult anybody, but I'm not one to believe in psychic mediums, okay? But we were doing, the house sat empty for a year while I was up for sale. So I would take people back and we would investigate it, because I wasn't living there no more, I didn't care. Psychic medium came in who didn't know me, didn't know my name, didn't know my kids, I didn't know her. She came in and she started telling me things. And she said, you have a son? I said, yeah. She said he was attacked in this house. So come to find out, all the medical problems that my son had was from a negative ghost that I had probably dragged into the house that attacked him for 2 years till we moved out. So anyway, that put me into, I wanted to go out and help other people. So being a Christian, I created my own paranormal group because I figured this is what God wants me to do. God opened my eyes, He wants me to go out and help other people. So I created a group called Faith Paranormal. And I thought, I'm going to go help other people. So I started doing private investigations and things like that. It didn't take long for me to realize that's not what God wanted me to do. So I couldn't help people, so I kind of just got out of the field. But in the meantime, the Haldeman Mansion, photographer had rented the mansion out to shoot models, to photography session. And they'd heard stories that the mansion was haunted. So they called my group up, Faith Paranormal, and they said, can you come in on a Sunday morning? Models are freaking out. Just make sure there's something negative in there. I said, sure. So my team goes up there on a Sunday morning. We're not expecting to find anything, you know. So we go in there, and we were shocked. We encountered the little girl spirit. I mean, clear as day, she's yelling, that's Daddy. I mean, we were just blown away by the evidence. So I go to the president of the board. I said, can my team come in and investigate on a Saturday night? No, we don't allow that. That's not allowed. So I kept bugging and bugging, and finally I said, look, you guys are missing out on making a lot of money. One thing led to another, and they said, well, will you run the paranormal program for me? We get it started. And I said, I'll do it for the first year. I'll get it up and running for you. That summer is when I went into the summer kitchen. This is where we get back to the summer kitchen. Team was in the mansion. I take my son into the summer kitchen, and I start provoking because I want something to happen. I want my son to see something. My son drove all the way up out of state to visit me. I want it to be an exciting night. So we're sitting there, and I'm provoking, and I'm like, oh, I'm not scared of you. You're a sissy. I don't remember everything I was saying, but I was provoking. And upstairs, I could hear footsteps coming across the ceiling. And I said to my son, you hear that? Hear that? My heart's beating real fast, you know, getting all excited. He's like, yeah, I hear it, Mom. I keep going on. I hear coming down the steps. And now my heart's beating a little faster, you know, because you don't want to be a scaredy cat. And I want to be big and brave for my son. You hear that? You hear that, Drew? He's like, yeah, I hear it, Mom, I hear it. Now I hear the footsteps coming straight at me. This time, I didn't give a shit if he heard it or not. I didn't give a crap if he heard it or not. When that footsteps came coming, I jumped up and out I ran. Now you can remember, I took him to Waverly, I'd taken him to Trans-Allegheny, I even took him to Bob Mackey's. So he comes out, he says, Mom, I've never seen you run from anything. And I said, you know what, Drew, you're right, we're going back in. So this time we go back in, but I sit in my chair right next to him. So I'm sitting like this, and he's sitting like that, and the stairs are right there. It's pitch dark. All you can see is the moonlight coming in from the crack on the door. And we keep seeing a shadow walk across that door. So I'm provoking again. Oh, you scared me, but I'm not going to run this time. You know what? You're not going to do that to me again. So all of a sudden I feel this on my leg. I'm thinking it's my son trying to get my attention. So I turn and look at him, and as I do, he's looking like this in the corner. So I look like this, I see him, and I look up in the corner to see what he's looking at. And there was this huge, solid white apparition. A white that I can't even describe. It's just a white that I've never seen before. So I look up and I see that, out I ran again. And I will not go back in that summer kitchen alone because whatever spirit's in there does not like me. And if you're sensitive or feel anything at all, when you walk into a place, you're going to know if there's an angry spirit there. So when I tell teens, when they go over there, don't put anything on that stairs because he will get mad. So if you go over there and put a REM pod or something on that stairs, he will 90% of the time set it off. And he'll let you know he doesn't want you over there. He's never hurt nobody else. He's never hurt nobody, but he does not like people over there. All right, go ahead and go. But that's the summer kitchen. That's what that photo was. Now what's cool about this picture here is, this thing. Look at the door. Can you see the door in the first photo? You see that kind of halfway up, you see like a white mist. And then he kind of blew it up, and you see the white mist again on this door. Now, it's kind of hard to see on the screen, but if you go on the website, you can see this stuff a lot better. This is also the artifact room where the Grouchy Man stays. So the Grouchy Man kind of hovers around the artifact room and the ballroom, and we have a beautiful federal staircase and where the children play. And go ahead and turn it. If you go to the website, hauntedmansion.com, you can see pictures of the inside and the outside of the mansion. And the mansion in the inside, 90% of it is more or less in the raw state it was back in the 1800s. Because being nonprofit and not having federal state funding, it takes a lot of money, as Spring will tell you, to upkeep a property. So our interest right now is keeping the foundation safe, putting new roofs on, and we're saving for heating and cooling. So until we can get heating and cooling in there, there's really no sense in updating the walls and the ceilings of the mansion, but it makes it really cool if you're up there at night and you're doing an investigation and you go in these rooms and it looks like the raw state. It makes you really feel like you're in a haunted house. So, turn, I don't know if there's any more slides or not. Thank you. So anyway, for those who don't, I think I brought some flyers in. Where they are. I suggest you stop on my table, at least pick up a brochure, and just check us out on Facebook or our website. We do public investigations, and we do let teams spend the night. So if you come up and you want to investigate the mansion, every dollar helps us. So come up, I tell people just to come up in the evening the night before, bring a cot, bring a sleeping bag, spend the night. If you're not too scared, just be out by 9 in the morning. So it's just, and even for the history, it's just an awesome place to visit. So thank you, everybody. Think about becoming a member.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that panel in regards to the history and haunting of the Haldeman Mansion. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. If you have any questions, comments, or any type of remarks in regards to anything we say or discuss, please send them to longcoatmafia@gmail.com. And again, I know a lot of you out there are happy that this is the last panel that we've been constantly been putting up for the past several months. So that's been due to various reasons, and the not safe for work version will be put in a special folder, and when we eventually start up our Patreon, it'll be one of the kind of goodies that we give all of you in regards to what's been set aside, or why we gave a better audio version, or what we thought sucked, outtakes, so forth and so on. But that's at a later date. We might be kind of hammering that out in the next kind of a couple of weeks or months. Plus, stay tuned to our social media for many of the details, which means our Facebook page is facebook.com, The Long Coat Mafia Podcast. Our Twitter handle is Long Coat Mafia, and our Instagram is also Long Coat Mafia. And also, that being said, one of the things I plan on doing in 2019 is give all of you a lot more videos when I get a chance. So keep a lookout to our YouTube channel. We don't have that many subscribers right now, so you would have to search up the Long Coat Mafia Podcast for it to come up, and it'll be there. And just click the like, not just the like buttons when you watch the video, so we know that you watched, but the subscribe button and that little bell button as well. That way you could be notified when we post up new videos, if it works. But that also being said, I do recommend liking our Facebook page, again, which is facebook.com/The Long Coat Mafia Podcast, because there is going to be at times where I put up an exclusive video either on YouTube or Facebook, because sometimes Facebook is finicky and it doesn't like certain videos, and those videos are better for YouTube and vice versa. And I tend to put up longer form videos on YouTube sometimes, and sometimes shorter versions on Facebook, so that's why. Please like and subscribe to both, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. So, that being said, if some of you out there are listening to us via YouTube, if you found us that way, don't forget you can listen to us on the go by subscribing to us through Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, or now that it's kind of being released, Google Play Podcasts. But if those standardized apps for your phone or tablet device are very finicky this week, don't forget you can always use the Stitcher Radio app, the Spotify app, or my personal favorite, the Podbean app. That way you're, at least with the Podbean app, I think you go all the way back to our first few episodes. So that's always a great thing. But if the desktop is your thing, and therefore check out our website where all our episodes are archived, and we have a bunch of small stuff on there for you to enjoy as well. And our website is thelongcoatmafia.podbean.com, and that's a great place to go to in regards to finding all our episodes. You could also download our episodes and stream all our episodes too. So I said that backwards. You could stream all our episodes or download them and listen to them later at your leisure using your favorite music playing application. Or if you want, and it's not being picky this week, you could also use iTunes if you so wish. Or, again, you could use Stitcher Radio or Spotify. That is your choice, and we hope you stick around for other episodes, and we will see you next week. And thank you all for listening. And you know what? I'll save it for next week. There will be a special treat, not just some new stuff from, again, our favorite announcer who gave us a special treat, George Spike Reel, but there will be an additional little special treat in next week's episode at the very end, so stay tuned for that. Again, thank you, and we hope you had a very happy new year, and your 2019 has started or will start, depending on when you're listening, very well. Thank you for listening.
See you next time on the Long Coat Mafia.